And if you want to have two full-time working parents in a smaller town like this, then you need to have a family member that's willing to help.
But this has actually like truly been surprising.
But the fact that our neighbors are like, do it like an American will do it to make the kids happy.
Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Over the past year and a half, we've been documenting our experiences living in Germany, but as we've shared before, we've actually been in Germany much longer. 4 years and almost 10 years respectively.
And for the vast majority of our time in Germany, we've lived in the southwestern city of Freiburg and Breisgau.
Although it's no Berlin, Freiburg is still a vibrant university city with a population of over 230,000 people and an entire Freiburg region being home to 2.26 million people.
But last summer, we made the decision to move outside of the city to experience a slower pace of life here in the Black Forest.
And yeah, there are some real differences.
Yeah, okay, but to be fair, some of these differences we expected, right? Like, we knew moving out of the big city would mean that we were going to lose, like, the nightlife scene, maybe some of the more exotic restaurants.
Exotic restaurants?
Yeah, like international cuisine, perhaps.
Okay.
But you know, like, we expected a slower and quieter pace of life.
But there were some differences that really surprised us. Some good and some, I don't know if I want to say bad, but it took a bit of adjusting and definitely more than we expected.
So we thought it would be fun to sit down and talk about some of those together and give you guys a little bit of a life update along the way. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so I think a really good place to start is just to maybe say that we kind of anticipated that, especially moving to a smaller town, it was probably going to be a little bit more difficult to find a Kita place for Jack.
Yeah, really in any realistic amount of time.
Yeah.
So like for instance, we had to keep Jack at his Kita in Freiburg for about 4 months.
Yeah.
So every morning I rode my road bike, about an hour with Jack in the 2-liter trailer behind me, all the way to his Kita, and then Ashton came and picked him up in the afternoon. I don't want to say this was like an awful thing. By the end of it, I was like super happy just to like watch Jack enjoy time with me in a bike trailer and just watch
really
everything.
Liked it.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a sad thing to give up at the end, but it did make life a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, we definitely put quite a few kilometers on our vehicle too, because you would go with the bike, but I would go by car in the afternoon, and 5 days a week of that, it gets to be quite a lot. But that being said, I don't think we fully anticipated just how few Kita spots were going to be available in our new town, because I do think it's a good thing. Our town is growing and expanding and gaining some popularity. And along with that comes some growing pains. And one of them is that even the people who have lived here for a long time have a lot of trouble finding a Kita spot. Like, we were actually advised for our new baby, which isn't even born yet, we were advised that we don't need a Kita placement until next spring, but we actually were told to apply in January of this year, like 12 to 14 months ahead of schedule for a kid that isn't even born yet.
Yeah, just so we can reserve a spot. And, it seems...
And speaking of Kita, I actually think that's a good transition to talk about the second point, which is that the Kita hours in a small town have been surprisingly sparse.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've shared with this like a couple of times before of that, I have found that there is a cultural difference in the amount of time that young parents will typically put their kids into daycare. Especially in the US, an 8 to 6 p.m. time slot is completely normal.
Totally normal.
Yeah. But we were actually surprised that of like the 15 or so Kitas that there are in our town, only 2 of them allowed full day spots, and those full day spots were until 4. And that's really surprising to me. And, we were really lucky. We actually got into one of those, right? So I thought, okay, like maybe it's not a full like 8 to 5 work day, but I can work through lunch and I can try to make this work. And then 1 month before Jack was supposed to start at his new Kita, they called me and were like, hello, Frau Schottler. So you're the only parent of the entire group who wants to stay until 4, and it doesn't really make sense for us to keep everybody here. So we're only gonna stay open until 2:30.
Even though our contract specifically said 4, so they just changed the contract. So I'm not really sure what the contract is good for at that point.
What was I supposed to do? Like, I couldn't say. I mean, I couldn't say no. But like, it has been a huge adjustment. Like, thankfully, I work from home and have flexibility in my job to where I can make it work. But I keep thinking about, like, what if I was somebody who did have an 8 to 5 job? Like,
yeah, I don't understand how like families can have 2 full-time working parents and have a young child.
At least not like our area.
No, exactly. I mean, like, we're an immigrant family here. We don't have any other family members to help support. And if you want to have 2 full-time working parents in a smaller town like this, then you need to have a family member that's willing to help. Absorb some of this, or you have to pay for a private nanny. And
but they're expensive.
They're
like
super expensive,
and
at that
rightfully
point,
so.
like you just have to cut back on your hours of work because, I mean, what's the point? I'd rather spend time with my kid than pay for a nanny, right? All right, so on to part 3. It is so much easier to get bureaucratic things done in a smaller city.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've shared before, I grew up in a small town in the United States. And so in my experience in the States, you will experience a much greater efficiency when it comes to legal or like bureaucratic things if you go to a big city. Like, going to a small city usually means that like they're still delivering the mail on the Pony Express. Like,
and that pony may never actually make it to where you need it to go. So you may never get a response.
Yeah, and to be fair, when we lived in Freiburg, the Ausländerbehörde and the Bürgeramt were great, very efficient, responsive. And I think I sort of expected that by moving to a small town, it would be a lot like the United States, where like it would just take longer to get things done. But like, weirdly, it's the opposite.
No, like the Ausländerbehörde here in our town, like, you don't need an appointment. You just walk into the building and knock on the door and walk in and talk to somebody, sign some paper, and then leave. And then that's it.
Yeah, like, we didn't even honestly need to make an appointment to register with the city when we first moved. Like, they're like, oh, here's our office hours. Just come on in. They're just whenever.
Yeah, even with email. They responded with an email.
In the same day.
Yeah, in the same day. And like, we follow some of these like expat groups, especially around Berlin. And
on Facebook, yeah.
On Facebook, exactly. And some people have just horror stories of waiting like months to even get an appointment with the Ausländerbehörde. And by that point, they have to leave the country already because they've now extended past their tourist visa. But the fact that we can just be in a small town, go walk in and sign some papers and we're done. It's just kind of mind-boggling to us.
Yes, and they're so kind and so friendly and so helpful. Like, again, I just keep going back to thinking about like small town USA and how I wouldn't expect people in a small town in the States to be as flexible and helpful for people who are like new, especially immigrant families. Not that they're like mean, but just that like they're not as well equipped to handle people who are from a different culture. But like here, they're just so great.
There's a parallel there, I think, too, because in the United States, in a small town, people are very personable.
This is true.
They like just small talk and talking with you and getting to know you, and then they're just being nice people because they don't have a lot going on.
Usually in the States, for sure. They're like, oh, hey.
Yeah, so maybe it's kind of similar here in our small town, too.
Yeah, but it's been a really pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And speaking of pleasantly surprised, we were blown away by how many social events and festivals there are going on in our town.
Yeah, because to be honest, that was something I loved about living in Freiburg. It was probably one of my top 3 favorite things, was just that there was always something going on.
Yeah, we lived in Altstadt before we moved here to the smaller town, and we really got to integrate more with the culture in the city by participating in these, which were happening almost every single weekend
Yeah.
and sometimes during the week. And that's something we were really kind of sad about potentially leaving, and then having to like maybe drive back to every weekend if we wanted to still have a taste. But
No, yeah, like I hate to say this, but like I guess I sort of expected that a smaller village would be a little more boring. I don't know. Like again,
yeah, I mean, again, it's like the United States. You move to a smaller town and there's not really much going on, and everybody has to drive to the big cities to actually have fun.
yeah, because like Freiburg is a university city, and that's
Yeah.
something that like I love about it because university
It's a hotbed for culture and
there's
experiences.
yeah
and-
music and art
Yeah.
and gosh, there's just always something happening. And when we were young, we loved it.
but now we're old.
But now we're old, decrepit people. No, but I mean, it was something where like we knew we weren't craving that nightlife, like, scene as much anymore. We wanted something quieter, but we
Yeah.
still enjoy the culture of it all because, like you said too, especially when we were really trying to get integrated into a community,
Yeah.
having events like this going on were such a really nice way to connect with where you were living and really feel a sense of home.
Yeah, so you want to grow roots where you are, and one of the ways to do that is to like integrate with all of your neighbors,
Yeah.
of course. And
But this has actually like truly been surprising because our small town is a very social place to be. Like,
surprisingly,
yeah, so there's almost daily a farmer's market going on. We've already gone to a food truck festival here.
Fosnet just ended.
Yes, with tons of parades,
Which is like a
fireworks.
multi-day thing, which
Oh,
I have to admit,
over weeks.
I now I don't understand it, and I thought I did before, but
well, but like to be fair though, like gosh, like Christmas markets and Oktoberfest.
yeah, that's right. They had their
like,
first Christmas market here this year. Like, it was awesome.
yeah, and especially I don't know. I guess I just like didn't realize how active the like tourism and planning an event situation was
Yeah.
here. Like they really, and the town goes all out, and everybody comes out and
Oh, yeah.
everybody participates. It's really really cool, and yeah, something I've been so happy about moving here.
And I have to say one more thing. New Year's in Germany is incredible.
Yes.
The
Oh,
fireworks that go off just for half an hour, just constant. We thought we were going to miss that being here. We thought we'd have to go back to Freiburg to actually like see
Yes.
and experience this, but like from our balcony, seeing all of it. Sorry, we're not going to show you the video of it because
It gives away where we live.
exactly, but like incredible.
I would almost argue that the people in our small town go even more out
Oh, yeah,
for
I'm-
New Year's than the people in Freiburg. Not to diss Freiburg. Y'all
did-
have a
did
good
good job.
time too.
Yeah.
But I would say like the per capita amount of fireworks was like at least
Yeah, I
double.
had no idea. I'm going full gas next year for sure. I need to fit
For
in.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Roman candle. Step back a little bit.
That's what I'm talking about. It's beautiful.
All right, so now for point number 5, we have a more authentic Black Forest experience.
Yeah.
As some people have pointed out, Freiburg is technically not in the Black Forest, but we are now officially in the Black Forest. And it is very safe to say that we get to experience more of the Black Forest traditions in a very authentic way.
Yes, and we talked in the last section a little bit about the fact that we just wrapped up Fastnet, and something that I thought was just really truly fascinating, because this isn't really like Carnival. It's not really celebrated to the same extent in the States, unless maybe you're in like Louisiana. But one of the things I found so interesting is that I never truly understood until we moved here how the exact same holiday is celebrated in very unique like traditions that are tied to the individual villages. Like I thought that the celebration we would experience in our town would be very similar to Freiburg, and it is in a lot of ways, but there are like unique little nuances that are only done here. And it's really, really cool because I can't think of anything even remotely similar to that in the United States, where
No.
it's such a like local hometown take on this that is so unique and fun as a foreigner to participate in.
Yeah.
But I will say though, we are still very much like foreigners here, and I feel like that's kind of come out a little bit more that we've moved to a small town.
Yeah, like for instance, in Freiburg, like, you know, obviously our German is now improving drastically.
Yeah.
But even when we speak German in Freiburg, people speak English back to us because, you know, they can hear our accent and they want to practice their English. But here in this smaller town, we speak German only because not as many English speakers live here.
Yeah. Yeah, just for like everyday tasks, you know, going to the butcher, going to the grocery store, going to like any of like the smaller things in town.
Yeah.
We definitely can't be lazy.
No,
Rely
which is
on our
really
English.
good for us. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you get a lot of like looks. They're like, why are English speakers here in this town?
That's happened a couple of
This
times.
is not very common.
Yeah. Yeah, they're nice about it, but I've definitely I feel like like it's not as big of a touristy spot as Freiburg is, so we're definitely like I think probably a lot of times people in Freiburg thought we were tourists, probably if they heard us talking, which is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here it's a fun experience for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to sort of switch topics a little bit here from talking about like culture to more practical things. Because one of the things that I have maybe had a bit of a frustration with in moving to a smaller town is I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to find doctors, whether that's like a house arts or a dentist. Like recently I came down with an ear infection and I just wanted to go have a quick appointment with a house arts. I called 8 different practices. Every single one told me that they weren't taking on new patients. Same thing with the dentist situation.
Yeah.
It's just, I think again, it kind of goes back to the town is growing a lot very quickly. And I kind of chalk a lot of this up to just the growing pains of that they haven't quite
everybody's-
matched the population yet.
The doctors are at their
Capacity.
right? They already have their customers and they're set in their ways, and us newcomers have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, so to be completely honest, we still go to a lot of our original doctors back in Freiburg. Like for my pregnancy, I'm still seeing my original OBGYN in Freiburg, even if that means I have a half an hour drive. I mean, there's a comfortability there for me too, which I get, but yeah, that's just sort of the reality of it.
I mean, fortunately, though, we were able to find a pediatrician just down the street. And when you have a 2-year-old that brings home a new plague every single month, which is really fantastic for us, it really has come in handy.
Yeah, true.
Point number 7, being an American isn't such a bad thing. So when we moved to a smaller town, we were a little bit hesitant because being a foreigner in a smaller town can sometimes, you know, you can stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Not that this area is less tolerant than others, but it is less culturally diverse than our neighboring bigger city of Freiburg.
Yeah, understandably so, right? Yeah, but I think we sort of expected that we would just like meet more challenges not being German as much as our neighbors are. But in fact, I've actually been so welcomed by the fact that our neighbors love the fact that we're Americans and have actually gone out of their way to make us feel like home here, which is so wonderful. Like, guys, they actually planned an American-style Halloween trick-or-treating for all of the kids in our neighborhood, which is fabulous and so nice and kind because like the whole reason we moved here, we've shared this before, was that this neighborhood is full of kids and like our neighbors are just so nice. Everybody's outside. Like they're welcoming us over to their house. They're like...
No, I mean, it sparks a lot of conversation. They're like, what are you doing here? There are no military bases here. Like, do you work at a company in this town? Like that's English speaking? That's strange. I want to hear about your story. Why did you come here?
And you know, I think like the other just sort of small story that will always stick with me now was this year we celebrated our first Christmas in Germany in our new home in this neighborhood. And we were outside playing with the kids and one of the other moms came up to me And she asked me, she's like, so I have to know, are you guys going to decorate your house for Christmas? And I said, oh, of course, yeah. Like, this is something we're really looking forward to because, you know, Christmas, especially Christmas lights on your house are such a big thing in the States. And she goes, will you light up your house like Las Vegas? And I thought that was so fabulous.
Yeah, because like, you know, the depth of my heart, I want to design the house like Clark Griswold would. But the fact that our neighbors are like, do it like an American will do it to make the kids happy.
Oh, that was, oh, absolutely. She's like, our kids would love it if you did that. And I guess that just, it makes me feel so at home here that they are excited about our traditions just as much as we're excited to learn about their traditions.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just something that's been such a wonderful thing to experience since moving here.
Yeah, no, it's feeling like home.
Okay, so, you know, to wrap up this video, I think there's like one big question that we wanted to answer, and that's, do we regret moving to a small town? And I think I could speak for both of us when I say, absolutely not. If anything, it has exceeded our expectations. Like, there were certain things that we were searching for when we were looking for a new home. We wanted a slower pace to things. We wanted it to be quieter. We wanted to look for a family neighborhood that Jack will grow up in and have just really fond memories of his childhood. And I think even the small things that have been, you know, made our transition a little more rough are so small by comparisons. Like you mentioned, you even like your commute.
Yeah,
now.
which is a pretty hefty commute round trip every day, and I've successfully so far, I have not driven or to work yet.
A single day.
Not a single day.
Wow,
So
yeah.
it's like guaranteed time on the bike every day, plus maybe a lunch ride, or I can go over the mountains on my way to work, on the way back from work. So there are a lot of options for me to really get my time on the bike in and still, you know, be able to balance my work and family life. Mm-hmm. And I have to say now that I've been here for almost 10 years, would I have moved to the smaller town at the beginning? No, probably not. I mean, I'm 30-something right now, and I have a wife and a kid and another kid on the way, and I much prefer a slower life, but this is not necessarily somewhere I would want to be when I'm 20-something, just because there's not as much going on for a younger person. So
Yeah.
I think for me, being in Freiburg, the much bigger town, earlier on, like it
was great.
I would have done it again.
Yeah.
Except I would have lived closer to Altstadt
From the beginning.
much earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think the same when I first moved to, especially because I was working on my PhD, like having that physical connection to the university was extremely important for my studies. But yeah, just as a young person, being able to go to restaurants, go to bars, walk home.
Just go have
like,
fun. But yeah, everything changes when you have a kid. For us right now, this is perfect.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's a wonderful transition for us to ask you guys a question down in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you about what you love about where you live. Whether it's a big city or a small town, what are some of the things that attracted you to move to the neighborhood that you eventually moved into? What keeps you there? What do you like about it? What are some things that have been unexpected surprises or even some unexpected quirks along the way? I think that would be really fun to hear from you guys down in the comment section below.
And as always, if you liked what you saw today, be sure to hit that thumbs up button.
And for more content from the Black Forest family, hit that subscribe button.
And until next time, ciao.
Tschüss!
Okay.
It's good now, thank you.
Okay. A bad thing. So we definitely.
Okay.
Okay. And you know, speaking of. Speaking of pleasantly surprised, we were blown away by how many
Okay.
things there are.